This is the buff that we've all been excited to see. It is a Charizard buff, so overdue. Let's not waste any time and talk about this Pokemon. Now, using him in the latest patch, ideally you're using this Pokemon in the jungle. Not ideally, I'd almost say only use this Pokemon in the jungle. He's quite possibly the worst Pokemon to use in the lane. And then the build that you want to use is a Muscle Band, Energy Amp, and a Scope Lens with an X Speed. And towards the end of the video, there will be timestamps. I'm going to talk through why you want to be using this particular build and why it is absolutely the best. Now, Charizard has just been given a 10% increase on his damage to auto attacks and a Unite move cooldown. So using that Energy Amp and getting a lot more damage with the Muscle Band and the Scope Lens and an Energy Amp, I just don't think there's any kind of arguing what sort of build you can use with this Pokemon. Now, the X Speed is really good for mobility. The one thing that Charizard has got over him and why he's so nice at level 5 is the mobility of this Pokemon. Now, when you go for your first gank, this is tip number 1, is that you do not be scared to push. You've got mobility and you've got damage, right? You've got good burst damage. When you hit a flamethrower, you get a speed increase, which is really nice, because that means you can either back away from the enemy or you can follow them up. And when you hit them, you've done burst damage. So typically, unless if they think they're going to win the fight, they're going to back out. So you're definitely likely to live based on the decision that you make. So don't be scared to push a gank and get straight back to that jungle rotation. Get back in that jungle by 8 minutes 30 at the absolute latest, right? Unless if you're getting extraordinary value out of the lane, it should all happen pretty quickly, okay? It's a quick, decisive moment of, yep, time to go back into the jungle and keep it up. Now, you want to pick Charizard into a good team comp. Here you can see I've got a defender and I've got some range on the team. He's a fantastic, I'm going to say, gets in their face and pushes them back a little bit. Okay, but that's not all that this Pokemon does well. Your early goal with Charizard is you are getting level 9 as soon as you can. I've come up to this lane to try and help my laners get online a little bit, but honestly it was a mistake in hindsight. I should have just focused on the bees and focused on my level 9. However, I do think that there is a lot of good to be said about keeping your team tilt free and making sure everyone's feeling supported. And that's something that you can do with this Pokemon because he's got the crazy mobility that he has got. So your goal, you got to keep this in the back of your mind, is you need to get level 9 at the first objective. Like, don't be at a Reggie if you're not level 9. You're pretty much like, unless if you're really behind, which you shouldn't be with this Pokemon. You should just be going to lane, providing value, and then going back to your jungle clear. Right, so here you can see, how do I get level 9? Well, I'll go back to the buffs. I leave the laners to try and get some of those B experience. And then look, it's like, oh, okay, I could go down to lane. No, why would I? Pick up a Baltoy, try and get level 9. Now, I'm kind of annoyed there because I didn't quite get it, but there's a little bit of farm here, or even there's a back Baltoy that I probably could have gotten. Okay, once you get your level 9, you have got presence. Okay, I'm 7 seconds late there, but that's totally fine. Here, you have got the presence. Charizard does this really well. He can go in with his Unite move early. The downside with his Unite move is it can get cancelled. But the good thing is that if you get it early, look how far back we've pushed the enemies, and then we're just able to rip the objective. Okay, my intention wasn't to go deep and kill. It was, if they look to push me, they're dead, and they have to back away so our team can get the objective. So just a quick summary of the early game. You want to jungle with this Pokemon, you do not lane with him. You pick Flamethrower and Fire Blast, you use a Muscle Band, Scope Lens, and Energy Amp with an X Speed. Don't be scared to push your gank because you've got great mobility and you've got great AoE damage. Make sure that you're picking him into a good team comp and get that level 9 by the time it is 7 minutes. Now this brings me to the mid-game macro with this Pokemon. You've got to understand what you're supposed to be doing with Charizard. Okay, Charizard has got insanely good rip on an objective. He's got, I'm going to say, almost pretty much 0 secure. You can call Flamethrower secure if you want. It's got pretty much a next to no secure, but what he does really well, and you need to learn to play to Pokemon strengths, is that he has got insanely good rip of an objective. So you want to make sure that you're present at the objectives, but you're also looking to jungle clear because he farms really quickly. Now, you're not just farming all game, okay? You're looking to be where you need to be and just farm in the process because he does it really quickly. And then you want to use your Unite move to zone and fight. And don't be scared to just pull the trigger, right? Force them back. You don't have to use it at the objective. With the energy amp, it's going to come on cooldown much quicker. Okay, it's already got a pretty quick cooldown now from the recent patch. But really, again, look at what I'm doing. I'm not engaging the fight. I push them back and then I kite towards the objective. You're not looking to take a massive team fight with the Unite move. Okay, if their team engages, then they're making the mistake and you can follow up. But if their team backs out, don't fly over. When you're in midair, you're not immune to the damage that the enemies can do. You're still fragile, right? But you're doing amazing damage, and the reason why you might think that you're doing really well with sustaining while you are using the Unite move is that you might not have known this, but your autos when you're Unite moving, they heal 80%. So you've got 80% lifesteal when you're attacking with the Unite move, and then you combine that with the energy amp, and you combine that with a muscle band and the scope lens, you can see why he's going to be sustaining really well and just doing a whole lot of work when he gets that Unite move off. So remember the macro, right? You use the Unite move to zone the enemies and do a lot of damage, but ultimately you're there to secure objectives. You're there to put them in a position where they can't even get close, right? You'll be surprised at how successful you can be with Charizard. That's one of his big strengths. And then you look to just farm. You do a jungle clear, you farm, you get the Unite move, and then have a little bit of map awareness here. I'm up the top, the enemies are down the bottom. Normally the Regieleki is not what I should be doing right now, but I pan over and have a look at the goal. It's on 76. Regieleki gives our team huge value here, like potentially like 100 score worth of value. So that's a great objective for us if we can get it, because we're putting it into the first tier goal and not the second tier goal. So here I am looking at the objective. Here is the Decidueye. He's got no way really to escape that Unite move. And again, I'm not going to go too deep. If he runs away, that's good play. Okay, don't follow too deep. You zone, secure objective, and then you just play it smart, right? If their team is going to defend this well, then you can't go too deep. Okay, it walks in. You kind of just kite back, you pick your opportunity, right? I've got 50 points in, and I don't want to die for the sake of putting 50 points in. So you just play a little bit smart here, right? It's just a Decidueye, and what, a Mew on like 40%, so that we're able to pick up the Mew there, and then we can get the 50 points in, and you just run away. Okay, there's no need to engage that fight. You pick up the money and run, right? You just leave. Okay, then the team comes in, and we get a lot of value out of that objective. So most of the time, Regieleki is not a good play, but if it's going into the first tier goal, then it's absolutely a good play. And then we look to jungle clear, get a buff, get that level 14, and there is a objective in that bottom lane again. So really, here I don't have the Unite move, which is fine. We're going to be using it for the Rayquaza, but look at the rip that these two have got. We've got the Decidueye and we've got the Charizard. So this mid-game macro leading up to the Rayfight is understand your rip, but you've got a lack of secure, and your fight presence. Go to objective, jungle clear, Unite move to fight and zone. Repeat for about, I'm going to say 4 minutes of that match duration. And then we get to this Rayquaza fight. You have to be so patient and so present in these fights. You cannot get picked off, and understand that if you use the Unite move and it gets cancelled by literally anything, like a full heal or a Pokemon that happens to be unstoppable or uses a skill and it's unstoppable, you've dived in, it goes on a mini cooldown, and you're in a bad spot because when you use the Unite move, you dive towards them, and if it gets cancelled, you can get caught up and you are going to probably die. So you need to be super patient when you're using a Charizard. Okay, you've got to be super patient. It's make or break, this Unite move. So you pull the trigger when you know that they are not going to be able to get out. Now this is a fight where it is successful. Of course I'm going to show a fight where it's unsuccessful. It's not successful every time, it's actually really hard. Now when it was unsuccessful, I'm going to tell you why it was unsuccessful and how it was pretty much all my own fault. However, here, look at how patient I'm being. I still haven't united, and it's like 49 seconds left. I still haven't united, and look, I'm like getting itchy at this point. So the moment I see the Mew, well, I'm like, I step out, I go way too itchy there, and he spots me, and then it's like, okay, well now I need to reposition, reinitiate. When am I going to use this Unite move? At this point, we've got a point lead, and really it's make or break now. I see the Mew, I launch off, and now we've just got command of the middle of the map here. So their team played that really well, but their team was playing fairly passive, which kind of put us in the position. Now here with 20 seconds to go, there's no point in ripping the Ray. I pretty much look for a score because I see 2 dead, and if they're defending, it means they're not scoring and they need a score to win. So 8 seconds here, I die to the Baltoy, which is really embarrassing. Our Mammoth gets a score in, their team gets a little bit of score in. Ultimately, it's just not enough because when there's 20 seconds left and the Rayquaza is still up, you just look for points. So you're either going for a score or you are defending. Now, of course, like I said, I'm going to show when this doesn't work out too well. Notice how I've gone in and the Urshifu has popped a full heal. And then I go for it again and the Urshifu was unstoppable by using a skill. Now, of course, this is really frustrating as a Charizard pilot and you're in the heat of the moment, so it's really hard to aim, especially when there's a lot of them around you or with a lot of stunning. However, ultimately that's my fault. I need to be more patient. I should have kited back, waited to see someone who I could have picked off and then launch a Unite move there. Because that actually, honestly, that actually lost it for my team. The Venusaur said doing the Rayquaza by himself, whatever, their team just wasn't interested in it. Go for the Unite move, the Ninetales is scoring. So again, see how it goes on a mini cooldown, and then here I go for the Urshifu again, which was another bad mistake. He's unstoppable by using his skill. So 4 times it gets cancelled, and honestly, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, that's what makes Charizard a little bit harder to use and you're more likely to lose, right, when you're piloting like that. But ultimately, you have to put the blame back onto yourself. I shouldn't have been going for a Unite move on Urshifu. I know he has moves that make him unstoppable. On the Ninetales, it was a little bit unlucky when he was scoring. But that's part of the risk, right? When you're scoring, you're unstoppable, it goes in that mini cooldown. So I have to look inward there, but of course, that is a RayFight where the Unite move just did not work out well. This will always be one of Charizard's downfalls, right? It's always going to be a big downfall for Charizard. The fact that when you use the Unite move, you have to be absolutely certain of it. So I'm just going to talk over a little bit about how to play Charizard, I guess, technically. His passive, when he goes below 50% health, you get an extra 20% crit rate for a short time. His basics, they hit 4 times in, you could call it 1 auto attack, and the Muscle Band passive applies to the 1st and the 4th hit, so you absolutely want to be using the Muscle Band. Now the range increases with each evolution, so when you're Charmander, Charmeleon or Charizard, his auto range increases with each time he evolves, which is really cool. The Unite move, it will slam the opponents into the ground, and then you will do auto attacks while you're flying in the air. Now the auto attacks heal 80% of your health, and the slam will do something like a chunk of damage, and additionally it will do a percentage of their max HP, I guess, which kind of makes sense because it's like if they're a fatter opponent, you're going to be chunking their health a little bit more. Now the only issue with the Unite move is that to engage with the slam, you've got to dodge anything that is immune to hindrances and full heal. So if the enemy uses a full heal and you try to Unite move them, it'll fail. If you try to, for example, Unite move a Lucario when it's using Power Punch, it'll fail. A Machamp using close combat, it'll fail. So any time where the opponent is immune to hindrances and you try to Unite move them, it's going to fail. So that means that if you try to Unite move something at the same time that it Unite moves you, your Unite move will fail. If you're Unite moving someone who is trying to score, it's going to fail. So there's going to be many instances where this is going to be a little bit frustrating. Now this is part of the skill cap when you're using this Pokemon. Now at level 13, Charizard has a 30% crit rate and 15% lifesteal. He's fairly tanky, but his biggest strength is that he is extraordinarily mobile. So if you're using the X speed and the flamethrower, you're going to be very quick throughout key points of the game. Now I just want to talk over some of his skills. Fire Blast, you'll see, is an AoE damage and it slows the opponent. Flamethrower is a good burst damage, it increases your mobility, and it'll also debuff the enemy's attack slightly. I think it's something like 5%. Now when you use Fire Blast, as you can see, it launches out to its range. However, it'll hit the AoE circle will kind of blast off on the first enemy it hits. So it'll go the entire range, However, if an enemy jumps in the way, it will hit that enemy first and it won't go the entire range. It's got a little bit of a delay, so when you launch it out, you'll notice it's maybe like half a second later the burst will go. So just keep that in mind when you're doing some farming and when you're trying to hit the farm on the move. Flamethrower, when you hit it, you get a speed increase, and when these moves are plus, what happens is that you just get more damage. Okay, it doesn't change the functionality of the moves, so it's pretty basic in that respect. Now, I will add, when you are farming, and you've probably noticed me doing this from time to time, is that when the farm gets low, you can kind of walk off and look for the next thing, because the flamethrower AoE is going to kill the farm, so you can get to the place that you need to be a little bit sooner. So that's just a little bit of a farming technique with Charizard. When the farm gets low and the flamethrower is still doing those ticks of burn damage, you can just walk off. Okay, you do not have to keep attacking that farm to secure the kill, unless if you're really trying to secure the farm. But normally when you're farming with Charizard, it's your jungle clearing and it's a little bit of free experience. So use your common sense, okay? Give the blue buff to someone who's going to get a lot more value of the blue buff than Charizard. And we're going to see this third Rayquaza fight. I just want to reiterate this. Be present, be patient, be mobile. Understand your strengths and weaknesses. There is a Buzzwole. I'm probably not going to Unite move the Buzzwole, okay? He's kind of, teasing me a little bit there. I see the Delphox, he's just Unite move, so he's got no more chances to be immune to hindrances, so I launch off onto him. Now their team is ripping, that's fine. I'm keeping in my mind that I'm just going to attack the enemies because they're ripping the objective. I really don't have much of a chance of securing unless if my whole team is coordinated and diving in together. We're talking solo queue here. So really I'm just looking to rip them. If they manage to secure the Rayquaza, then I'm just looking to destroy their shield, which is a part of the advantage of having a lead going into the Rayquaza. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of value. This is a nice in-depth Charizard tutorial post-patch. Do I think he's worth using? I think he's a lot of fun, but you're probably not going to be able to use him a lot. You've got to make sure that you have the right team comp. Please don't take this Pokemon into the lane. He's not going to do very well at all. But understand your fight presence, understand your objective rip, and don't get too frustrated when you're using the Unite move. It is very, very frustrating to try and get used to, but that is the way Charizard will work.